I'm Eric Miskell with EMSNOW, and welcome to this edition of EMSNOW Up Close. It's my pleasure this morning to be speaking to Stephen DeFalco, the Chairman and CEO of Creation Technologies. Creation Technologies, of course, is one of the great mid-tier EMS companies in the industry. I believe I saw that they were recently ranked number 33 in the top 50 by Manufacturing Market Insider based on 2020 revenues. That just came out recently. So, Stephen, thank you for taking time and starting your day with me this morning. Why don't we begin, as I always do, by asking you to introduce yourself and your company for the benefit of our audience.
Thank you, Eric. It's great to be here with you. Creation is a global EMS player with 10 locations across the US, Canada, Mexico, and China. We're very focused. We focus on aerospace and defense, medical devices, and tech industrial clients around the world. Basically looking for kind of medium volume, high reliability work is where our sweet spot is.
Okay. Now you joined Creation Technologies in 2019, and you had kind of a bit of a varied background there, but mostly in a lot of high tech companies, but also from the investment side. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, you know, we're watching electronics become a larger portion of every product and system in the world, making them smarter, more efficient, easier to use. And I really view the EMS industry as having a ringside seat on watching that transformation. And so that's what attracted us to Creation, and quite frankly, that's what attracted us to this niche of the industry.
Yeah. And that's interesting because, you know, EMS hasn't always been a glamorous kind of an industry, right? Many people aren't even aware of its existence, but you clearly were from your previous experience. And was there anything particular about Creation Technologies that attracted you to the opportunity when it presented itself?
Yeah, very much so. So I think the EMS industry is large, as you know, and complex, and in a sense, throwing all the companies into one bucket doesn't do them service, right? Because there's parts of the industry quite attractive, parts of the industry that are less attractive. We really wanted to build a special platform looking at the high reliability space, aerospace and defense, medical, tech industrials. And so that's what drew me to it. But as you said, this industry has had a transition. I think in my previous jobs, I viewed EMS folks as good suppliers. You know, they did printed circuit boards and they were specialists at that. But really the industry is shifting, at least our area of the industry is shifting to being very integral into the success of our companies and being deeply involved in the product development pipelines and really a strategic partner. And I think that was what was kind of exciting. I mean, the ability to enable all these fantastic products that are coming to market across those sectors.
Yeah, indeed. So, you know, one of the, the COVID last year had a lot of impacts on us, on how we live our lives and how we do business. One of the outcomes, seemingly for at least for the EMS industry, was acceleration of some existing trends like automation and digitalization. So, how do you view those two issues as it relates to the industry?
Yeah, I think, as you said, COVID accelerated those trends. I mean, COVID definitely taught Creation a new level of agility was necessary, because we watched tremendous volatility as some of our customers faced very difficult markets. Other customers had their businesses surging in COVID. And so we, get off one call and we're trying to take volumes down, another call, we're trying to triple them. And as you said, automation and digitization were tools that we had been using, but not on the accelerated basis that we were. And so for one example in supply chain, I think it's across our business, but the one in supply chain is we're connected to 4 times the number of suppliers we were pre-COVID, like 4x, right? And my guess is that's going up 4x again in the next 15 months. And so, the idea of calling suppliers and checking inventory and stuff, you just don't have time. The industry is moving too fast. And then I would say with our customers, more, but that's an area where we'll probably invest and innovate. It's probably right now more phone calls and more frequent contact. But I think over time we'll shift to a little bit more digitization. I don't know if it'll reduce the phone calls because again, we're pretty tight with our customers.
Yeah, it is still business is still about people, right? So
Yeah,
there's
absolutely. I think it changes the context of the phone calls where they're more strategic,
mm,
as opposed to the day-to-day order placing and volume
mhm.
demands.
Yeah. So, another outcome of the pandemic seemingly has been this, there's been a lot of discussion around restoring US manufacturing competitiveness. Uh, what are your thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, I think one of the key trends is people relooking at their supply chain in the Asia Pacific area. And I think that's driven more by the costs going up in those
Mhm.
arenas. And they are looking at that and trying to make, if you would, a rational decision about does it make sense. I think it was almost 15 years ago. If you're a supply chain person, you had to tell your boss that we're in China, right? And now I think folks are just looking at that and looking at the numbers. I see less coming back to the U.S. I see it
Mm,
coming back to North America. And again, for our customers, aerospace and defense, medical devices, they want Mexico.
yeah.
And that seems to give them the right combination of a cost structure that makes them competitive, but a much more simplified logistics and intellectual property and working capital requirements. And
Mhm.
so I would say coming back to North America more than coming back to the US.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's interesting because that distinction is really that you're drawing, it sounds like, is between what has been popularly been called reshoring and actually regionalization, which is build in region for region, which to me has always been more of the definitive strategy.
Yeah, I would say, look, let's start out with any customer would love their supplier to be 2 miles away.
Hmm.
That's their desire.
Yeah.
And I would say for most of our customers, that works just fine, and we service them well. And then they're going to have certain products where the market for that product is competitive. And all of a sudden, the labor content, when it becomes around $1 million, I think then we approach them and start saying, hey, we have some other options for you. Right. And so for many of our largest customers, we serve them out of 2 or 3 different locations, depending on the product family and the specific needs. And again, if they're making 1,000 a year of some product, it doesn't make sense to put that in Mexico. Right. But again, single SKU or family SKUs with a labor content is 1 million. That's when we'll start the conversation. We'll say, hey, same services, same processes, same quality, same team can
Hmm.
take care of you. We're going to make these SKUs for you in St. Peter. We're going to make these SKUs for you in Mexicali.
Yeah.
And let's, work through that transition. And the goal is to keep them competitive,
Hmm.
right? So I think that I don't know if that's a trend line or that's global reality. And so we need to have those kind of offerings to keep our customers competitive.
Yeah. And towards that end, you recently, or you've expanded the facility down in Hermosillo, Mexico. I believe Hermosillo was initially was through the acquisition of ATS last year. You had a,
A-
they,
Absolutely correct. Yeah. So let's start. We have a great team in Hermosillo. It's a phenomenal facility. Customers love it. Quality is great. And so the goal was we needed more capacity. How do you get it? Right. So we built a new facility right next door. So
Mhm.
all the employees are going to move over, all the systems, all the processes. So there's no risk in it for our customers. But the new facility is over 4 times the size. So 200,005 square feet, built for purpose, which is wonderful in our industry. Most of our
Mhm.
facilities are cobbled together and there's new
Yep.
equipment and new ventilation. So this is, you get to lay one out from the start. And it's going to be, a beautiful center, and we'll really kind of build around that. Customers have reacted wonderfully to it.
Hmm.
We have a tremendous, pipeline of interest, both our existing customers and quite frankly, some new customers where we've caught their attention. Yeah, so it's I would say though, very much building on the success of the current team and a low risk move that positions us for the next 10 years there.
Yeah. No, and Hermosillo, I've actually been there, and it's one of the lesser known cities, but still a very, very large city with a lot of capability and nicely located.
Yeah, it is. There's a couple of things that make us very attracted to it. One is it has a wonderful university system.
Mhm.
So there's a pipeline of people with the right technical skills for us. A bunch of bigger OEMs went in there earlier, like the auto industry, and that creates
Mhm.
the infrastructure, if you would, that a player
Yeah.
like us can then kind of ride on those heels. And then the population is very indigenous. People grew up there, lived there, went to university there, want to build a career there, which is a little different than the border towns that are a little more
Mhm.
transient, right? And
Yeah.
so you can really invest in your employee base, have relatively low turnover, right? And
Mhm.
so yeah, for a bunch of reasons, it's an attractive. Uh,
Yeah. Good, good. So another issue, again, coming out of the pandemic, it seemingly like, is the whole issue of national security concern with supply chains. In regard to the electronics manufacturing supply chain specifically, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that risk is not an inherent result of offshoring or outsourcing?
yeah, I think folks like to connect those words, risk and offshoring, and in my mind, look, there's certain products, particularly in the defense area, 100% have to be manufactured in the United
Mhm.
States. Right. And so that's kind of clear. Then there's another group of products where you need to have full integrity in the supply chain, right, all the way through. And I think that's reality, whether or not it's all in the U.S. or it's not. And you got to understand, for any product, there are components made outside the U.S. And so it's a risk plan that starts with making sure every single component is a real component and not a counterfeit, and then
Mhm.
managing to make sure the intellectual property is secured at every step in the production process.
Yeah.
And so I think that, again, uh, certain products need to always be in the US, but you need to understand on those products, there are components coming from abroad. And so
Mhm.
you can't allow that to be your only safety net. You have to go much broader than that.
So Creation Technology services, I believe, over 200 customers. I don't know what the current number is, but broadly speaking. So, how are these engagements changing? From both kind of the required technologies and also maybe what OEMs are expecting from their EMS partners these days.
Yeah, look, the word that comes to mind is intimate.
Hmm.
I think yeah, no, I think like send us a purchase order and we'll talk to you every once in a while. Yeah. No, and COVID made us more intimate. It's funny, we can't travel to each other,
Yeah.
but boy, we can Zoom like crazy, right? And
Hmm.
we're deeply involved in product development programs from the very earliest builds and the prototypes, and then with a real goal of ramp to quality volume,
Hmm.
right? And so that we're deeply kind of intimate with our customers and everything along the way, and sharing information and resources and problem solving. And so I really think that's how the face of the relationship is changing.
Hmm.
Is in general, the conversations I have with customers, they're saying, "Hey, Stephen, my 2021 business plan is XYZ. We have 4 new products coming out. We're expecting that to be 21% of our revenue. You're making 3 of those products for us. These are the launch dates, right?" Those conversations I don't think happened often 10 years ago. It was they did all of the design, they kept everything secret, and then said, "Here's a quote package."
Yeah.
Right. So I think that they rely on our expertise early on to take their bill of materials and do a value engineering
Hmm.
analysis, broaden it so that they don't have any
Hmm.
supply chain issues. Pre-order critical components. Um,
Hmm.
that level of interaction, I think, is changed in the industry, and I think is going to continue to accelerate.
Yeah.
And so
That.
my dream, my view of one of our best customer relationships is Eric Miskell walks in the door, and you can't tell who's from creation, who's from the customer. You just see 6 people with their sleeves rolled up
Mhm.
working on a product launch.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. I like the way you phrase that actually, because it sounds like the EMS has really evolved to become much more of a strategic partners with their OEM customers now, and that the way you describe it is intimacy. I've never heard it described, but that is an appropriate way of conceiving of it. And I know that you in the past have spoken about the importance of customer service excellence in the process too. And that's something that I think Creation Tech takes pride in is that stickiness and being very close with their customers. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, yes, very much. That's core to our DNA, which is making sure that, on every single day we service all our customers and treat them well. And, I think the word within creation, particularly right now, is proactive. Is, you should be looking down the line and seeing any issues that might arise and bring them up early and have a conversation and, kind of working. And that's what defines great customer service, is not, your report card on what you shipped last month. It's what do the next 4 months look like, and how are you talking to the customer about, things that can interrupt that production. And so yeah, we work hard at that. We have we survey it. We have good scores, but you can get better, and we are going to get better. And yeah, every single day and every side on every program, yeah, we want to be perfect. So
okay, good. So material supply chain challenges, they've been across the industry very prominent these days. How is this impacting Creation Technologies, and how are you responding to it?
yeah, so first, we're seeing the same issues everyone else is seeing. No one is immune from that. I would say one of the biggest things is, over the past couple of years, we've really worked with our customers on value-added value engineering programs to broaden their bill of materials. That is the most important and the first line of defense. You don't want to be doing it in crisis. You want to be doing it when things are fine, right? And we've been proactive in kind of doing that. And so that mitigated this to some degree, because when one component became short, we could quickly go to the other, not then start a requalification process. Second thing is, we got a letter out to all of our customers in January saying, we see this coming. We see it coming fast. We're going to have our customer-focused team leaders reach out to you. We need to build a plan. And so that's whether or not you want us to secure inventory, you want to give us POs with a longer forecast, consign at certain distributors, but we're going to grab you and quickly work with you on a tailored plan, right? Because we think this is going to get worse before it gets better. And again, that letter went out in January. So I would say we did a lot up front to mitigate it, but you can't eliminate it. With the economy so volatile coming back from COVID, we had customers in mid-February take their volumes up 2x, and we look on their bill of material, they got a couple of components we just can't get. And so, we scramble and work and try to secure that, and we're doing that every day. But I would say that we definitely did our best to get in front of the curve. And but I think this is going to get worse before it gets better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is going to take a couple of quarters to work itself out.
Yeah, and that's what I've been hearing from various people in the industry as well, that it's, by end of this year, by beginning of the next year, hopefully the latest, that this should all be worked out. So
yeah, but I think that the that's my expected timing, but obviously we know it'll be component by component, bill of material by bill of material.
Yeah, exactly. So what other challenges to the EMS industries do you see having an impact this year?
I think that is the big one. I would say that growth, growth is coming back faster than we anticipated. I think faster than the industry anticipated. And so, I thought the economy would kind of glide into Q1 and then slowly get better. And it came roaring back. Yeah, it came roaring back. And particularly our tech industrial customers are seeing, big increases in demand for their products. Buildings are being built again, and agriculture is making big technology investments. We're also seeing the return of elective surgery in around the world. And so, for the past 18 months, if you needed a hernia operation, you waited.
Yeah.
right? Well, now we see those beds being flipped over, and the demand didn't go away. You
Hmm.
still need to serve,
Yeah.
right? So we're starting to see that ramp, and so I would say that we have the economy coming back faster than people anticipated, and component supply will be the gating factor. Yeah, so I think those are big challenges. If I had to add a third, I think talent. I think we're tight hiring across the board, from senior executives down to hourly workers,
Yeah.
in almost every geography.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, one of the historic challenges of the EMS industry has always been profitability. So, yeah, how is this changing, or is it changing?
I don't know. We're an industry that operates on tight margins,
Yeah.
and we're expected to be better, faster, and cheaper every year, and deliver some of that productivity to our customers. I don't think that's going to change. I mean, I think that's our purpose, and so I think it's essential to our success, and I think it's kind of key. The area that's probably changing, and I think this goes back to that intimacy question, is how we share risk. And so we're deeply involved in a critical program, and the customer says, we'd like you to go buy 12 months of inventory to make sure that we're covered here for this launch. Okay. We operate on small on tight margins, so you're going to have to give us non-cancelable POs or a deposit or something like that. And so I would say those kind of conversations are more regular and more normal. And so
Hmm.
we probably talk about kind of price and productivity less with our customers, and more talk about those bigger programs and risk sharing arrangements that kind of make sense to make the program a success. So that's the area I see changing. The rest of it, I think, you know, variations on a theme.
Yeah. So I want to follow up on, and you touched on in your previous response there about the HR side of it, because I think the industry has been challenged with attracting and retaining, right? People in this industry. It's not seen as a sexy industry, so to speak. So how do you view this challenge, and what are there new skills required now as it becomes more technical and less kind of manual?
Yeah, yeah. So I think you're on the right theme. I'd start out by saying, first of all, we've been focused a lot on internal development, and we've had kind of a record number of promotions where we've moved people up in the organization and developed them, and so that's the most important, right? That's
Hmm.
great. But having said that, I think post-COVID, there's a little bit of movement in the tech industry, and we're not immune from that. And I don't think
Hmm.
EMS is. There's some people that just hunkered down for the year, but really want to go on and do something else. And
Hmm.
so, we are seeing movement in the market. As I said, it's tight across the board, and so I think it's going to put a premium on employers who are hiring people for a career, are willing to invest and develop them. Going to get involved and listen to them. And our program to do that is our continuous improvement programs and our kaizens. We now
Hmm.
pay a bonus to our hourly workers who get involved in kaizens and bring their ideas forward on a quarterly basis. And so I would say that we're tailoring our programs very carefully to be the best employer that we can.
Hmm.
But I think recruiting's going to be tight. I think the labor
Yeah.
markets, yeah, labor
Hmm.
markets will remain tight. I would say that we hire a good number of women and diversity candidates. Um, Many of them are still dealing with family issues that are COVID related, kids at home, whatnot. So I'm not sure they've all returned to the workforce yet.
Yeah.
And so we rely on bringing a lot of those in. And so, there'll be,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there'll be a little bit of yin and yang there until that all
Mhm.
gets, until everybody's opened up and all the kids are back in school, which is
Yeah.
probably
Right. No, and I appreciate that. I was going to ask about that, so I'm glad you covered that kind of the diversity kind of hiring and promotion within the company. That's obviously an issue getting a lot of attention these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do a good job on that, but everybody can be better and we can be better.
Hmm.
And we will be better.
Yeah. Yeah. And your comment about, women returning, I think they did bear a larger burden relative to the children during this time. I was just reading something yesterday about that very issue again, that it's still, still working its way out as schools haven't fully opened. So hopefully, later this year, as vaccines and things get better, that this becomes less of an issue.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. So listen, in closing, I just want to ask you kind of, put on your kind of check your crystal ball and kind of what's your view for creation technologies in the industry over the next, rest of this year, the next 12 months?
I'm optimistic. The economy is coming roaring back. Our customers seem healthy. They got an enormous number of new products in the pipeline that we're working with them to launch. And we see, big upswings in demand in general, as again,
Mhm.
a couple of sectors that were offline are coming back. So I think opportunity out there. Our teamwork has never been stronger. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun ride. So in my mind, buckle up for 2021. It's going to be
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, I like that as a tagline. Buckle up for 2021. Here we strap it on. Here we go. Right. So excellent, excellent. Stephen, I've enjoyed this very much. Thank you for taking the time for sharing and telling our audience, giving some insights on the industry. I wish you continued success there, and we'll certainly be watching with great interest to see the developments over the next year. So thank you for your time, and I wish you continued success and stay safe out there too, please. So,
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you having me on, and quite frankly, I appreciate everything your organization does for the industry. So you also stay safe. Have a great 2021.
thank you, sir. Take care.